As far as so-called dogfights are concerned, we always used to call them dices. I don't think one can compare them to the Battle of Britain at all. The numbers were far, far less. Again, you were at a disadvantage. That was common to both of them. The 109s were invariably above. In the Battle of Britain, by the time they got the news that they were on the way, and they really were, it wasn't a fake attack, they had to climb like angels, homesick angels, in order to be able to get up to the... as far as we were concerned, in one squadron at that time, we were used essentially for bomb line patrol, which meant that you took off. There were 12 of you. Sometimes you had a top cover. They would go off first, and 12 of you, and then you'd start at the top end. Now, the bomb line was an imaginary line drawn on a map which indicated roughly where the front line was. At Alamein, of course, it was only about 26 miles long, because you had the Med on the one side and you had the Katara depression on the other, which was useful from this point of view, that really only the long-range desert group learnt how to travel on that little lot. The sand was so soft, they developed a wonderful technique. And just digressing for a moment, we always used to be browned off at the long-range desert group, because invariably they blew up the bombers. They never thought of blowing up the 109s, and those were the things that used to get in our hair. Anyway, you'd be out on one of these, patrolling just up and down the bomb line, and sometimes without a top cover, as I say, and at Alamein you could see the aerodromes on the far side, and towards the end of your patrol you would see them, the plumes of dust as they were taking off, and you knew that a few moments later they'd be sitting above you. They would attack you. They invariably would dive and peck and pull away, but now and again there would be a tangle, and they would come down right in among us, or the Macchi 202s, those were the Italian ones. And frankly, I was very pleased that the Germans didn't have a squadron of them, because they were very close in ability to the Hurricane, and they could tangle with us. And I've often wondered what it would be like. Once or twice we tangled with them, and it was more or less even. But occasionally the 109s would come down, and the snag was that we'd be in a 12-some, so they'd pick one side, and a flight would turn into them, and in no time at all they'd broken us up into 3 lots of 4. You had your leader and his number 3, the number 2 and the number 4 behind. You break down into your 4, and then they would consistently attack. I remember on the one occasion they attacked us, and it eventually came down, they broke down to myself and my number 2, and 3 of them tackled us, and it was quite a hairy business. Luckily, they had ammunition which exploded at 1,000 yards. And when they came down at us and they started firing early, you could see these flashes stitching their way down to you, and you could turn under them, which was the right way to do it, because it put them more towards being on their backs. But at times when they did tangle, we tried to maintain silence. That was one of our strict rules, if possible, because if everybody was yelling, you couldn't hear. You'd hear a yell of warning every now and again, Hotspur Red 1, duck right, or something like that. And the word duck meant, if you said duck right, you did a 180, a UE to the right as fast as you possibly can, because it meant somebody was up your tail. and the quickest way to get away from him was to do a tight left or right turn. You never flew more than 3 or 4 seconds really without moving sideways, up or down, left or right. The thing was that suddenly out of the pack of things you would find somebody sitting on your tail, or you'd see one and you immediately went after him. Your number 2 tried as far as possible to stay with you. His job really was to look round, make certainly nothing was attacking, and you with a hacker, you got in and did it. But make no mistake, you were also watching. Generally speaking, I would say when there was a dice, it was surprising how often within the first half minute you suddenly find that you and the blokes attacking you were the only people in the sky. The rest had all hived off somewhere. And if one looked at it from a distance, there were a series of private little wars going on all over the place. I did see one once, south of us. We were on a bomb line patrol, and it looked like a wasp, a bee's hive, what's it, a bee's, when they all cluster like that and get together. And it seemed to stay like that with odd bees coming out of the side and going back in, and now and again a bit of smoke going down. And that surprised me, because looking at it from a distance, it wasn't often that it stayed so global. You got shot at, you shot at people. You had to make snap judgments. We had to reflect the sight with the right size in that, but one didn't have the time usually to be able to settle down, follow somebody around, and then shoot. In a fight, a man is there, you go for him, and you squirt, and as far as I was concerned, I invariably missed. But some of the boys were very accurate, and they'd shoot down 1 or 2. Try to fight as a unit. Break down, don't go below your pair. If you were by yourself, then you didn't stay still for a moment. You moved all over the place. And as far as possible, you would try and get out of it and then come back higher up and have an advantage. Oh, well, you'd find people bailing out. We did hear at one stage that some people were shooting at those that bailing out. But invariably you didn't know who it was. Was it one of ours or one of theirs? In the middle of a fight, this bod would just go dangling his way down. You'd see smoke, you wouldn't know if it was yours. And it was only when you got back home, and invariably you got back home in dribs and drabs. You very seldom had time to form. But on that one occasion where we had the 3 tackle us, there were just the 2 of us. They'd gradually cut down the squadron, and the 2 of us, we had their undivided attention until they ran out of ammunition, and before they did I saw 2 more taking off, and they joined us. So we had 5 of them, and it's the only time really after a fight I've ever felt like being physically ill, because we were turning and turning and turning. And I know once I pulled around in a steep turn and my number 2 was slow, and I saw this one tackle him, and I thought, no, that's the end of that. Happily the bod missed, but the 2 of us got back safely, luckily. But that was a torrid affair. It was just a private little fight. The other 10 bods were having their dice somewhere else. I wouldn't say you have the chance to be frightened. You're so concentrated on what you're doing. It's been instilled into you what to do to turn. You don't think, oh, I must turn now. You see something and you automatically turn, you automatically do this. And as far as you can, you automatically get out of the way. But it's very seldom 109s took you head on, which was surprising because they had a heavier armament, but you had lots. In consequence, I think a 109 coming at you, you only had to hit him in the right place with a 303, and his engine would go or something. So they didn't often. I remember Hannes Forer once, he was in one with me. We were talking about the fight afterwards, and he was absolutely shocked. He said, you know, 109 actually took me head on. And, but generally speaking, not.